this video we will see about India and China border issue. An Indian army officer and 2 soldiers were killed during a violent confrontation with Chinese troops in the Galwan Valley in eastern Ladakh on Monday night. It was the first such incident in the last 45 years that reflected massive escalation in the 5-week border row. The Chinese side also suffered some losses, however, exact numbers have not been reported so far. The editor-in-chief of Chinese state-run newspaper Global Times confirmed this, while adding that the Indian side shouldn't be arrogant and misread Chinese restraint as weakness. Hu Zhijin said that the Chinese side was holding back the number of its casualties as the government did not want to stoke the public mood. He termed it a goodwill gesture. A senior military officer, quoted by news agency PTI, said that it is the first incident involving the casualty of an Indian soldier in a violent clash with the Chinese army after 1975, when 4 Indian soldiers were killed in an ambush at Tulungla in Arunachal Pradesh, along the de facto border between the 2 countries. Official sources told PTI that there was no firing between the 2 sides, and the casualties were a result of a fist fight and stone pelting among the 2 forces. During the de-escalation process underway in the Galwan Valley, a violent face-off took place on Monday night with casualties. The loss of lives on the Indian side includes an officer and 2 soldiers, the army said in a brief statement. Reports claimed that the army officer killed in the clash was the commanding officer of a battalion at Galwan. However, there is no official word on it. Meanwhile, China accused India of stirring up trouble and transgressing the Chinese border. Our border troops had a high-level meeting and reached important consensus on easing the border situation, but astonishingly on June 15 the Indian troops seriously violated our consensus, and twice crossed the border line for illegal activities and provoked and attacked Chinese personnel, which led to serious physical conflict between the 2 sides, and China has lodged strong protest and representation with the Indian side, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian said. We once again solemnly ask the Indian side to follow our consensus, strictly regulate its frontline troops and do not cross the line, do not stir up troubles or make unilateral moves that may complicate matters, the spokesperson said. Zhao also added that both sides agreed to resolve this issue through dialogue and consultation and make efforts for easing the situation and upholding the peace and security along the border area. There has been a large buildup of Indian and Chinese troops in Galwan Valley and certain other areas of eastern Ladakh for the last 5 weeks. The incident comes days after Indian Army Chief General M.N. Naravan said, both sides have begun disengaging from Galwan Valley. China's state-run newspaper Global Times claimed in a report that clashes were triggered by Indian troops as they crossed over to the Chinese side and carried out attacks on Chinese soldiers. The Indian and Chinese armies are engaged in a standoff in Pangong Tso, Galwan Valley, Demchok and Daulat Bagoldi in eastern Ladakh. A sizable number of Chinese army personnel even transgressed into the Indian side of the de facto border in several areas including Pangong Tso. The Indian Army has been fiercely objecting to the transgressions, and demanded their immediate withdrawal for restoration of peace and tranquility in the area. Both sides held a series of talks in the last few days to resolve the row. In their first serious efforts to end the row, Lieutenant General Harinder Singh, the general officer commanding of Leh-based 14 Corps, and commander of the Tibet Military District, Major General Lulin held a nearly 7-hour meeting on 6 June. The meeting was followed by 2 rounds of major general-level talks. The Indian side has been pitching for restoration of status quo, and an immediate withdrawal of thousands of Chinese troops from the areas which India considers on its side of the LAC. On Saturday, General Naravan said both sides are disengaging in a phased manner. We have started from the north, from the area of the Galwan River where a lot of disengagement has taken place. It has been a very fruitful dialogue that we have had. Following the standoff in eastern Ladakh, the two sides have deployed additional troops along the LAC, the de facto Sino-India border, in North Sikkim, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Arunachal Pradesh in the last few days, the sources said. After the standoff began in early last month, Indian military leadership decided that Indian troops will adopt a firm approach in dealing with the aggressive posturing by the Chinese troops in all disputed areas of Pangong Tso, Galwan Valley, Demchok and Daulat Bagoldi. The Chinese army has been gradually ramping up its strategic reserves in its rear bases near the LAC by rushing in artillery guns, infantry combat vehicles and heavy military equipment. The trigger for the face-off was China's stiff opposition to India laying a key road in the Finger area around the Pangong Tso Lake, besides construction of another road connecting the Darbuk Sheikh Daulat Bagoldi Road in Galwan Valley. The road in the Finger area in Pangong Tso is considered crucial for India to carry out patrol. India has already decided not to stall any border infrastructure projects in eastern Ladakh in view of Chinese protests. The situation in the area deteriorated after around 250 Chinese and Indian soldiers were engaged in a violent face-off on May 5 and 6. The incident in Pangong Tso was followed by a similar incident in North Sikkim on May 9. The India-China border dispute covers the 3,488 km long LAC. China claims Arunachal Pradesh as part of southern Tibet while India contests it. Both sides have been asserting that pending the final resolution of the boundary issue, it is necessary to maintain peace and tranquility in the border areas.